Hi everybody, I'm David Hanning with Dental TI. Today we're going to take you through using X-Ray Vision by Apterex, the most powerful software in the dental industry for managing X-rays and intraoral camera images. It's very easy to use. We've customized the software to give it a nice intuitive graphical user interface, and we've got a nice little video that's going to take you through everything you need to know to replace film with digital. And after you've watched this video, you're going to be able to use the software comfortably. Let's take a look. There are 6 things that we're going to show you today. How to enter a patient through Name Grabber, how to recall that patient later after they've been entered, how to open that patient's x-rays, how to take an individual x-ray, like a single PA, how to take a layout or series of x-rays, such as an FMX or bite wings, and how to export the image so it can be sent to a specialist via email or attached to an insurance claim. So the first thing we're going to look at today is Name Grabber. How to open X-Ray Vision and have all of the patient's information in there from practice management. So Name Grabber is in the system tray on the computer, and it also floats as an icon that you can position wherever you want it to be on the screen. When you've got the patient's chart open, for example in Dentrex, you would click on Name Grabber. Now we're going to move on to step number 2. You've got the patient in X-Ray Vision. Their name is open up in the upper left-hand corner. Now let's say that you've already taken images on this patient. If you've already taken images, you simply go to Teeth over here on the right side of the screen, put your mouse there and click. Here you'll see the upper and lower arch, and these tooth numbers indicate where they're grayed out that we have a picture or an x-ray that has the annotation of tooth number 3. If we want to click on just that, we can do that, and it will show all of the images that have an annotation of tooth number 3. In this instance, it's all of the images in the patient's record. Notice when I hover over it with the pointer, it gives me the taken date and the time. I simply left click on the layout, it will highlight it in blue, and then you click open, and the images will be opened and the layouts will be tiled side by side. So that is the second step, which is actually looking at previous images that you've taken. We're going to talk a little bit about the toolbar, the custom toolbar that we've created for X-Ray Vision. The standard toolbar looks nothing like this. Dental TI has actually customized the toolbar to create the icons that you see here that offers a very nice process-oriented flow, and it gives you the tools that you'll be using 90 to 95% of the time, readily available on the toolbar. The first icons here have to do with capturing images. You'll notice Capture Sensor, 4 bite wings, FMX 18, and then this first icon, Capture Layout. When you click on Capture Layout, it actually shows every layout definition that we have. Endo lower anterior, lower left molar. A lot of these you might not use that frequently, so you don't necessarily need shortcuts to the toolbar. In the instance that you're using one of these layouts, you simply select it, click OK. The sensor will flush and go to Sensor Ready. You'll hear it say Sensor Ready, and then you're ready to take your x-ray. So, Capture Layout, this first button, is for choosing layouts that are not up here on it as a shortcut. We then have a shortcut button for taking an individual PA, 4 bite wings, FMX 18. This next button on the toolbar, Tile Windows, is if you ever have images or layouts that are maybe disorganized, they're cascaded like this rather than tiled, you can click the button Tile Windows, and now they're neatly organized side by side. The third button is an X-ray enhancement. I'm going to double click on one of the tiles or images within this layout, and it brings it up. You'll see we're looking at a native image. Native images have a little bit of a fuzzy quality to them. With our Apterex General Enhancement, we can click that button. it's going to apply to all of the images, and you'll notice how it sharpened up the image. That enhancement level we can customize by clicking on Enhancement, Real-Time Filter Options, Apterex General Enhancement, and simply sliding the sharpening factor over to the right to increase the sharpening level. Now we have settings that we give you for those enhancements, and during the training we'll make sure that that is the level of enhancement that you want to see for your x-rays. When that button is turned on, that level is applied to every x-ray on the screen. When that button is turned off, every x-ray is native without the enhancement. Now we also have another filter here called General Endo. So in this section from here to Spot Magnifier, these buttons all have to do with looking and enhancing the x-rays. So looking at them with a magnifier or with the spot enhancer that changes the contrast within the magnification. That's what these tools do. So this next one, General Endo, let's click on that, and you'll notice when that enhancement is applied, it's designed to highlight the apices, and you're going to, for example, in this image, see apices more clearly. It's not an enhancement for the rest of the x-ray, but the part of the anatomy that you're looking for is going to stand out more clearly. I'm going to turn it back to the Apterex General Enhancement that you'll have on the majority of the time. Now the next tool here is a gamma correction. And when I click gamma correction, this upper posterior PA, for example, is a little bit light, which means we can't see these apices real clearly. If I click on the gamma correction tool, you'll notice it shows me the original image and the operation preview on the right side. I simply take the gamma slider, and if I slide it left to the left side, I'm darkening the image over here. So I'm going to slide it quite a bit here to the left, and you'll notice it auto updates. And you see a preview over on the right of what adjusting that gamma will do for the image. Now if I want to click on my magnifier, the plus, and zoom in to a particular area, like this, apices, I can do that, and I can see what the adjustment will do for that area of the x-ray. Now I've applied that, I'm going to click OK, and now it's applied to the entire image, and you can see this area of the x-ray becomes more readable, and the apices are more clearly defined, easier to see. Now let's say you go too far with that adjustment. You can always click Undo on the toolbar, and it'll take you back to where you were to begin with. The next tool on the toolbar that we like is Invert. Invert is another tool that's helpful for endo, for example. You can invert the grayscale, which I just did, and notice here the dark areas become light and the light areas become darker. So the inversion tool, you can click on any x-ray and click Invert, and it will invert the grayscale. This one here, for example, this lower anterior PA, we'll click Invert. It's inverted the grayscale. Some doctors like that. If you don't like it, we can always take it off the toolbar. But here, if you invert an image and you want to undo it, you simply click the Undo, and it takes that modification off of the image. So I'm going to click Undo and undo the inversion that we applied to those images. The next tool is the Spot Enhancer. And the Spot Enhancer allows you to right-click. So when you click on the Spot Enhancer, it's depressed. You'll see it says Enhance on our icon on the screen. Well, if I hold down the left mouse and go over the image and move the circle around, it actually enhances the contrast as I'm moving that circle around. I can change by right-clicking the size of the enhancer. I can go to large. I can go to medium or even small. Normally, I think the large is typically the best size for that spot enhancer. The next icon is Spot Magnifier. Now, Spot Magnifier does just what it says. It magnifies within the particular spot. So you hold down the left mouse and you can move that magnifier around the image like this. You can change the size by right-clicking and going to very large, for example. and you can change the level of magnification down here. Normally I say do not go beyond 3 times magnification because the information stops being useful. So typically 2 or 3 times magnification is good. Now here, this icon, the rest of these icons, this one is going full screen. So if you have an image and want to take it into full screen mode, you click on it. You'll notice my arrow has turned into a magnifier. So if I left click, it will magnify that particular area of the image. I can right click to drop the magnification. To exit full screen mode, simply hit the door up in the corner here, return to application. So here we're going to turn off the spot magnifier. The pointer icon is just to turn off any of these tools. So if I had spot enhancer on and I wanted to go to pointer, I could click on pointer. Alternatively, I could just click on spot enhancer again and it would take me back to pointer. So the labels, the next icons that we have here are labeling. So we've gone over capturing X-rays here with the first icons, organizing with tile windows, all of our enhancements that we can do from ApterX general enhancement to inverting the X-ray to magnifying the X-ray, taking the image full screen. Now these next ones, ellipse label, predefined text, and text labels, all have to do with labeling the image. So for example here, when I am in ellipse label mode, if I hold down on the left mouse and drag, I can create an ellipse, and I just keep it held down and keep dragging to make it larger. When I let off, it comes to this screen where I can choose properties. Here we recommend color coding, yellow if it's an area that you're watching, red if it's an area that you're recommending treatment. So it's very simple to draw the ellipse label. The next is predefined text. Now predefined text, and you'll notice the cursor turns into predefined text when you're in that mode. When you click there, all of these are text labels that you've chosen. We give you some standard ones here that we call DX for diagnosis and RX for recommendation. We always recommend putting the diagnosis and the recommendation. If we had an abscess here, we could click DX abscess, click OK, and then we could click, again, predefined text, and choose the recommendation, RX root canal. And notice, here we click OK, DX and RX is now on the image. The text is, and we can drag them around. If you click on the word, you'll have the 4 gray boxes. We can drag that around on the image, put it anywhere we want. So that's how you put labels on the image. We have another icon called text labels that will allow you to actually draw a square and type in text that you may not want in the predefined text. So here I'll just type in test. Well, we can click show test right on top of the image. Now if you put text on top of the image and you want to get rid of it, you can simply click it. You'll have the 4 boxes around it. Right click, go to label, and then delete label. So here, right click, label, delete label. Now these text and the ellipse labels are simply seen as overlays on the image until they're merged with the image. So here, if you've got an image in a group of images, here in a layout, and you want to have this label appear in that image when you export it and send it to a specialist, the process for making sure that that appears is hitting duplicate, file, save, so you're saving this individual image, and then export. And our auto export puts that image into a network share where it can be opened and attached to insurance claims or emailed to a specialist or the patient. When you're done with that image, simply right click, go to delete current patient image and delete it so we don't have a duplicate image. So the next tool we're going to talk about is Calibrate Measurements. Calibrate Measurements is very useful for endodontics. when you've got an x-ray and you want to measure from the end of the file to the apices and have an accurate measurement. And it's based on two steps. The first is calibrating and giving a known measurement. Now here, I've sort of drawn what would be like an endo file, where this would be the rubber stop, and let's say that's the end of the file. So I know that's not an endo file, we're just going to assume that that is. So in endo, you've put that down in the tooth and you've got your known measurement. We're going to pretend that from here to the end of this is 10 millimeters. So there's a two-step process. You click on Calibrate Measurements. The icon, when it's in calibration mode, looks like a crosshair with a gear up in the upper left-hand corner. That means calibration mode. First step is you go to your beginning point, which would be here, base of the file. You hold down the left mouse button and drag it to the end where the middle of your crosshair will line up with the end of that point and let off. Now here you'll notice actual distance. We're going to tell it what we know of that actual distance. Here we're going to say that's 10 millimeters, so I'm going to type in 10 millimeters, click OK. And now notice my calibration tool has turned to just a measuring tool with a crosshair. Now I'm going to measure from here to the end of the apices. So I'm going to hold down the left mouse button, and as I'm pulling down, if I want to create a slight curve while holding down on the left mouse button, I click the right, creates an anchor point, and now I can deviate direction, which I'm going to do here. I'm going to click another right, click there and let off, and now I have a measurement that's accurate for that radiograph, telling me that from the end of that file to the apices is 7.48 millimeters. So that's how you use the calibration tool. Remember, you've always got to give it the known distance, and then from the known distance it shifts into the measuring function, and you will have an x-ray that's accurate given the fact that you calibrated it for that known distance in the x-ray. The next tool that we're going to talk about is the print functionality. Now in printing, if you're in a layout and you've got an individual image up here and you want to print it, you could click print, and it's going to say, first one is general, what printer do you want to print on? Here you could do the drop down and choose your printer if you had multiples. The second says print size. Now notice here I like to click custom because I can hold down the left mouse and create this image as large as I want or as small as I want. So if I don't want to use a bunch of ink, I can drop it down and print it at that size. The next tab's here, image text. Here you can choose what information you want to print on the image. I always recommend you choose tooth information, because if there are tooth numbers assigned to this image, they will print out underneath the image. The next is header footer. We actually help create a definition for your office that has patient's last name, first name, taken date, and then all of your information down below. And we save that as a definition, and we call that office info here. And then in the future, if you go to any computer and these fields aren't here, you simply click load definition, choose office info, open, and it will populate the fields with all of that information. Now let's say you wanted to print this entire layout. If you're looking at the layout and you click print, you'll notice now it's showing us a view of the layout. And here again you've got the same, we could choose current image or layout here if we wanted to shift to just the current image. I'm going to choose layout. But as you go through the tabs, the general is the same, where you're choosing the printer. The header footer, we can load the definition and just choose office info, and then it puts that information in there. And then we've got layout text. If we wanted to choose specified text and actually type information that would appear underneath the layout, we could do that. I'm going to cancel that. Now we'll notice we have a duplicate button, and then we have print multiple. If you want to print images from two layouts, you would simply select the image in the first layout. Let's say we wanted to choose this x-ray, and we would hit duplicate, and it pulls it out as an individual image. Then we choose the image from the second layout, and here we'll choose the same image, and we hit duplicate, and again it's copied out as an individual image. From here we can click on print multiple. Now when we click on print multiple, you'll notice it's only showing us the two images that are individual images currently. We can highlight and it will show the order, 1 and 2. We can change that order by clicking on order, changing the number, so this would be 1 and that would be 2. And then the next tab is images per page. Here I've got it set up 1 column, 2 rows, and we could obviously change that. We could make it 2 columns and 1 row if we wanted them to be side by side. But that's how you choose whether or not all of the images will be on the same sheet of paper. And then the General tab is again where you choose the printer. Image text, you can see tooth information is already selected from the last time we printed. And then header, footer, if the definition weren't here, we could click Load Definition, Office Info, and it would load all that information. So if we printed this out, we're going to get the 2 x-rays in 1 column and 2 rows with patient information on the top and all of your office information on the bottom. Click Cancel there. When you're done printing, you simply close these images, and if you have not clicked File Save on these individual images that we've duplicated, it will get rid of them from the patient's record. But no concerns because we still have them in the original layout, so we're not deleting the original images. So we'll just click Close. So this final tool is the Export tool. Now the Export button that we have up here will allow you to be looking at an image, click Export, and notice it asks me, do I want to, because this image is part of a layout, do I want to export the current image or the layout as a combined single image? If I chose that, notice it shows all of these little thumbnails with that image, and it would be one large image. You wouldn't be able to click on the individual images within the layout. You'd just have to look at the large image. Here we're going to choose current image. Just click OK, and that has actually taken that image and it's put it into our network share. So if I minimize, you'll notice right here our export folder that was on the desktop has the image in it. If you want the image to be exported with the real-time filter applied, you'll want to hit the duplicate button so it pulls it out as an individual image, and then hit export. Now when I go to my export folder to attach, you'll notice that image has been exported with our filter, so it's sharper. So whenever you're doing the export for individual images, always hit duplicate so they are exported with the real-time filter. I'm going to close that image so we don't get rid of it. So that's a review of the functions of the toolbar. Now I'm going to go into how we're going to capture images. We've already looked at opening a patient from practice management and passing all of their information into X-ray vision, opening that patient again in the future and looking at the images that have been taken. Now we're going to look at acquiring X-rays. If we wanted to capture one individual X-ray, like a PA for example, of number 7 and 8, we would simply click Capture Sensor. Always make sure your SUNY ray sensor is plugged in and the green light is on the sensor. Then you simply click Capture Sensor on the toolbar. Here it's showing we have the SUNY ray, and we click OK. Now the second step is capturing or selecting the teeth numbers that you're going to be taking an X-ray of. Here I hold down with my left mouse and I pull over 7 and 8. Now immediately after I do that and select the teeth,
Sensor ready.
We'll go to Sensor Ready. And if you've got the volume turned up, it will actually say Sensor Ready. Now we're ready to expose the X-ray. Notice the orange light is blinking on the SUNY interface, indicating that it's ready for the acquisition of an X-ray. So when we expose the X-ray will come back and it will be properly oriented. I'm going to stop this sensor capture, which if you ever need to do that, so let's say you decided you didn't need to take that X-ray, if you're in individual X-ray mode, down in the lower left-hand corner you'll see a little window that says Capture. Click on the first Restore Up button, and it'll bring it here where you have the opportunity to click cancel and cancel the x-ray. So now, and you'll see sensor capture canceled by the user. So that's an individual x-ray. Taking x-rays in a series, like a full mouth series, would be clicking on FMX18 here. And now notice it's going to go to sensor ready, and whatever we have designated as our first tile location that we want to take the first x-ray in will be highlighted. Here it's in our anterior region. We would take that and it would automatically advance to number 2. So it would put the x-ray in number 1 and then advance to number 2. Now, if the x-ray in number 1, if we need to retake it, we simply take the arrow and put the number 1, highlight number 1, and it will take the next x-ray and place it in this box and then advance to number 2. Down in the lower right corner you'll see what looks like a little pad of paper indicating that you have more than one x-ray in that tile, and you can actually choose what x-ray you want to represent that tile. So here we're going to stop the series capture. We're not going to capture any x-rays, so stop, abort. Now notice it says you aborted the current image. Do you want to quit capturing the series? If for whatever reason we didn't, we would click continue. If you do, you would simply click quit. There. Now it's also important to note if you want to change sensors in the middle of a series and you, let's say, unplug the number 2 sensor, you always need to click stop series capture and quit. And then you would unplug your sensor, plug in your new sensor, make sure the tile is highlighted that you want to start on in the series, and then simply click Capture Series. It will flush the sensor and go to sensor ready, and now we're ready to take x-rays and proceed. We're going to click Stop Series Capture. Quit, and done. Now here we have an empty layout, and as I mentioned, we don't want empty layouts, so let's look at deleting that. You're simply going to take your cursor in any of the tiles, right click, go to Delete Patient Layout, click that. Notice it says, are you sure you want to delete this group? Yes. And then, are you absolutely sure you want to delete it? Once it has been deleted, it cannot be recovered. It gives that message, although as another fail-safe, the images are in the recycle bin on the server. So we can always get them back as long as you don't empty your recycle bin if you inadvertently delete an image or a group of x-rays. Now we've covered everything from opening a patient in practice management to finding past images that were taken and displaying those, to taking single images and taking multiple images. And we've also covered how to print and how to export your x-ray images. We've gone over the tools on the toolbar, how to use magnifier, for example, the spot enhancer, and how to darken images with the gamma correction tool. Those are the fundamentals. As long as you know those 6 things that we covered today, you'll always be able to replace your film with digital. Wow, that software is easy to use, isn't it? Well, you know, if you ever want to get more out of the software, you want to have it customized, if you contact us, we can get you in touch with Aptrex to help you with further training. We can arrange the training directly through Dental TI, have a lot of options for that. And then there's also, don't forget, the built-in help tutorial. So if you go to help and help within the program, it's going to take you to a tutorial that you can do a search by whatever you're thinking about. So if you want to know about how to print images, you type in printing and it gives you every way to print an image. So that's another way to get help. But please always contact us if there's something that you're unsure of or you need additional help. So thanks a lot for joining us today, and we will see you online.